Hey, Washington, I wouldn't poke the bear if I were you heading into Saturday.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, let's do this, everybody. Matt Derry with you. It is a Tuesday, I should say, a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions. I don't even know what day it is. On the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today is Wednesday, January 15th into Thursday, January 16th. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget, tomorrow, Locked On Commanders host David Harrison will join us for the Thursday crossover brought to you by PrizePicks. Should be fun. David does a great job covering the Commanders. He used to cover the Bucks. He's all over our network hosting different shows as well. One of the better hosts we've got here on the Locked On Podcast Network. David going to talk to us tomorrow as we preview Saturday night showdown between the Lions and the Commanders. Locked On Lions today brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. Wow, $300 if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Shout out to our everydayers who are out there that watch and listen to the podcast on the daily basis. For those of you watching on YouTube, you might be going, what is going on with Matt's face? Yes. I have a CPAP machine for snoring that I've been using for 2 months, and the mask made out of silicone has carved up my nose for 2 months so bad. And now I've hit a low point. Like, I'm red. I'm breaking out. I feel like I'm a 14-year-old kid. And so my nose yesterday, like when I had Justin Rogers on, was so red. And I tried every potion in the books, from a covering. I'm getting a new mask. I had to go to the dermatologist yesterday. It's been a mess. So this is why my nose is all messed up. But hey, that's the way it is. And CPAP's great. I just need a memory foam mask instead of a silicone mask. So that's why my nose has been all messed up. I had this for a couple months. It's been killing me. All right, coming up on the show today, the Washington media, that's not all of them, but there are some members of the Commanders media that continue to bring up last year's Ben Johnson snubbing of the Commanders when they wanted to interview him for a second time, first time in person. And a weird story is out there that I need to debunk because the story doesn't make sense. We'll get into that. There is a Ben Johnson update. He spoke today. There's a beat writer for the Raiders who believes it's getting closer between Ben Johnson and Las Vegas. We've got an injury update to go over today. Kevin Zeitler remained out of practice, and also a call of the day. And if you want to be our call of the day, just go to our SpeakPipe voicemail system at speakpipe.com. So that's SpeakPipe.com/Derry podcast page. Hey, listen. All right. Our friends at FanDuel have the Lions opened up the line as Lions minus 8.5. They were an 8.5 point favorite on Sunday night after the Commanders had knocked off the Bucks. Line open at 8.5. Folks, the line is up to 10. All right. Everybody out in Vegas and everybody that's gambling and putting bets in is betting the Lions. Lions are a 10-point favorite. It went from 8.5 to 10. So many people feel like the Lions are going to handle or at least win by double digits over the Commanders on Saturday night at 8 o'clock on Fox. And we know this, all right? Commanders have a good team. They didn't win 13 games by accident. Jaden Daniels is a stud. And I almost was going to play a clip from a show on FS1 today, but I had a very good friend who saw that I had retweeted the clip on Twitter. And he's like, what are you doing? Why would you give them any love? No one watches that show. No one knows those people. I said, you're right. They do know Mark Schlereth. I'm a Schlereth fan. I'm not knocking those hosts. It just, nobody watches these shows. So I'm away from it. But, so the people say, Jaden Daniels is better than Jared Goff. Like, hold on a second here. The Lions are rested. They're ready. And they're the better football team. It's a matter of going out and executing and certainly keeping Daniels, the very fine rookie quarterback, in check. He's a special talent. He really is. But he hasn't been to Ford Field yet. He hasn't played with this in front of this raucous crowd. And every win the Commanders have had the last week, a month and a half, 5 wins they've had, have all been at the last possession. So they've had to squeak out some here. But I say don't poke the bear because Ben Johnson, to me, is a mad scientist. He's the best offensive coordinator in the game. And there's a reason why not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 teams interviewed him last week via Zoom. All right. And Ben Johnson last year turned down the Washington Commanders. Their new GM, Adam Peters, their owner, Josh Harris, wanted to speak to him a second time. And we know that there were some reports out there that the Commandos were upset. All right. That Ben Johnson allegedly or reportedly told them while they were flying to Detroit that he was not interested in speaking to them. All right. Keep that in mind. On the latest, and I saw this, and shout out to Brad Berryman and the folks at SidelineReport.com. I saw it on their site, so they get the credit. There's a podcast called Ramblin' with Rio Robinson. It's a Commanders podcast. And there's a guy by the name of Lake Lewis Jr. who's on the podcast, who's covered the Commanders for many, many years. And Lewis Jr. said on the show, quote, I don't know if it's been talked about publicly, but this is the story I got. They were en route to Detroit for the interview and conversation with Ben Johnson. It was brought up that Ben Johnson still wanted Sam Howell, and that's who wanted to be the quarterback for this offense. And you know, there's a Carolina connection and all that stuff. And Adam Peters was like, no, because they knew they were going to draft. We all knew who they were going to draft. He didn't want him. So if there's anybody that should be upset with Ben Johnson, it should be Jaden Daniels. Kudos to Adam Peters for saying no. This is the quarterback you'll have to work with. It was Adam Peters that said, turn that plane around, end quote. That is the comments from Lake Lewis Jr. on this Ramblin' with Rio Robinson podcast. They didn't turn the plane around, brother. I love it. He tells this story all dramatic. Adam Peters said, turn this plane around. Except the plane never turned around. It came to Detroit because Peters and Harris and Commanders brass interviewed Aaron Glenn in Detroit. They were flying to Detroit to interview 2 guys. They came to Detroit and interviewed 1. So I don't know if any of that is true. I don't know if Ben Johnson wanted Sam Howell to remain the Commanders quarterback, for Sam Howell went off to Seattle to be the backup this year, and he's terrible. I don't know if Ben Johnson said no to Jaden Daniels, if this is just sort of like, hey, let's get on this podcast and fire up Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is going to stick it to Ben Johnson because Ben Johnson didn't want him. I don't know if any of this is true. But you know what I do know about Ben Johnson? Ben Johnson likes to show off. When Ben Johnson and the Lions were in Chicago and Ben Johnson was the talk of the town, hey, maybe the future coach of the Bears is coming to town. Woo! Ben Johnson went into his bag of tricks, came up with stumble bum, came up with reverses, came up with other stuff. Ben Johnson will hear about this. Ben Johnson certainly will be shown this. Hey, guess what? Here's what they're saying in Washington about how you snubbed them, spurned them, and oh, by the way, didn't want Jaden Daniels. Ben Johnson's got something for them. Don't poke the bear, Washington. Come on now. Commanders are having a great year. That's a good franchise. Lance Newmark, one of the former Lions brasses there in the front office. They're building something there. I like what the Commanders are doing. But this late guy and everybody else keeps talking about Ben Johnson just, screwing over the Commanders turn the plane around. The plane never turned around. It went to Detroit. So Ben Johnson's got something for Washington. You watch. There's gonna be something. I don't want to poke that bear from the Commanders and that 30th ranked rushing defense. I'm telling you, that's not somebody I'm messing with. That's how good Ben Johnson is. And if the Commanders are still mad at him, I mean, come on, the Commanders hired Dan Quinn. He did a phenomenal job. So I think everybody can, if this is just for fun and hey, let's rile up people, fine. But I think it's stupid. All right. Coming up next, there is an update on Ben Johnson's possible next destination. Is there any smoke with that fire? We will explain coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. And the podcast today brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Didn't I already say that? But I meant it. Right now, new customers can bet $5. You're going to get $300 in bonus bets if you win that first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with our friends at FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Back on Locked On Lions for a Wednesday edition, January 15th. We are back tomorrow and Friday, of course. Tomorrow, David Harrison, host of Locked On Commanders, will join us as well. We got a little speak pipe voicemail to play today, our call of the day. Always exciting to do that. All right, the very latest on the Ben Johnson rumors. I got rumors. Comes from Vincent Bonsignor of the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Or is it Journal Review? Hold on. Let's get this right, shall we? Vincent Bonsignor from the Review-Journal, Las Vegas Review-Journal, who tweeted out earlier today, or X'd or whatever you call it. I'm trying to stay off of that said site. Quote, a lot of momentum building for Ben Johnson and the Raiders. This was earlier today at 12:30 p.m. Johnson was asked today how the interviews went. He said fine, and that's all he would talk about it. He is focused on this week. He is focused on the Commanders. He is focused on getting the Lions back to the NFC Championship game. Johnson said it again. Johnson said it again today. We all remember what that flight was like going home from San Francisco last year in the NFC Championship game, and we talk about it all the time. We don't want to have that feeling again. He is solely focused on this weekend, putting up some points against the Commanders and getting back to the NFC Championship game. That's what you love to see. But one of the beat writers for the Raiders saying that there's some momentum building with Johnson and Las Vegas. See, I see that. I could see that. And we've talked about this ad nauseum. But an opportunity for Ben Johnson to build something in Vegas, to have some say in personnel, because right now they are interviewing general manager candidates and are talking to a bevy of them. And who knows who Ben Johnson has relationships with and who he doesn't. But the Lions model, which was put together 4 years ago, where Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell came in basically together, with help certainly from Chris Spielman and Sheila and all this stuff. But that Lions model of the coach and general manager being so aligned, all right, Ben Johnson's not going to get that same alignment in Jacksonville. Trent Baalke has 1 year left on his deal, might not be there. Does Ben Johnson want to go in and work with a lame duck GM, who, oh, by the way, many people down there don't even want there? Right? Now, I get it. And we had Ross Tucker on last week, and Ross said it. Who's quarterbacking out in Vegas? Well, the Raiders could try to trade up and draft a quarterback. The Raiders there might be a quarterback there. What are the Raiders drafting? 5th or 6th? Maybe there's somebody there for them that they like, that they're not going to, let on to, that it would be a rookie. The kid from Ole Miss all of a sudden is moving up the charts, right? Along with Shador and Cam Ward, Jackson Dart. So you never know. But if Johnson would have some say in personnel, he's not going to get that in Chicago. You got Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles wrestling over personnel now. And Mike McCarthy's interviewing with the Bears today, which I find interesting. Maybe Chicago wants to move on that. So hearing momentum with the Raiders and Tom Brady having a say in what's going on in Vegas and will be in the building. Ben Johnson says he doesn't have any idea what the rules are about talking to Tom Brady. He said he met Brady November 9th when Brady did which game was that? He said he met Brady November 3rd, I'm sorry, for the Packer game. He said he met him for the first time then. So he admitted he met him and talked to him. So I could see a scenario where once the Lions are done, and hopefully that's after they win the Super Bowl, right? That Ben Johnson and the Raiders could be a match. I could definitely see that. So keep an eye on it, but interesting report today out of Vegas and from one of the beat writers, it's close to the action there, that there's some momentum cooking with Johnson. But again, last year there was momentum with Washington. I thought he was going to Washington. Ben Johnson's situation is going to have to be perfect for him to leave here. He loves it here. Loves it here. All right, as far as the injury situation for Saturday night and the 8 o'clock game between the Lions and the Commanders, Kevin Zeitler continues to not practice. Yesterday was a walkthrough, which they deemed him out for. Today, he was also out of practice. He worked on the side. But Zeitler, of course, the Lions' very, very good right guard, is suffering from a hamstring injury that he suffered a couple of weeks ago in the Week 18 win over the Minnesota Vikings. And by the way, I don't even remember if I mentioned this yesterday. What a bleep show the Vikings were the last 2 weeks. Oh, my God. What on earth happened to them? And I know their offensive line just really struggled, and Darnold was standing there like a stationary bike, just getting killed. But, man. Anyway, Zeitler got hurt in Week 18, limped off the field at the end of the game with the hamstring injury. And Lions are hopeful that he could play this weekend. We'll have to wait and see. You know, David Montgomery's going to be back out there. It sounds like Terrion Arnold's going to be back out there, which is great news. But the Lions do have Christian Mahogany ready and at the ready to play right guard or even left guard if they want to move Glasgow over to the right side if needed. And Mahogany did a really nice job in place of Glasgow a few weeks ago when he got the start, the rookie from Boston College. But keep an eye on that. That is something that to watch. Look, anytime you miss the great thing about the offensive line and what Hank Fraley has done this year, and really the last few years, is the Lions have had to plug and play with a lot of different guys. Remember when Ragnow got hurt, Glasgow went back over to center. Coyote Awashika had to play. This year, Mahogany's had to play. Dan Skipper's had to play left tackle for Taylor Decker. Decker missed practice today, but it was for personal reasons. But even if, look, you want to have Decker, Glasgow, Ragnow, Zeitler, and Penei Sewell intact out there for these games. All right. There's hopefully 3 games left, right? You want to have your entire offensive line. It's the glue of this team. It's the best group this team has. And this team has a great running back group. This team's secondary is stacked. That safety room is awesome. They got a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro back there, and Brian Branch, and of course Kirby Joseph. But everything starts and stops with that Lions offensive line. So keep an eye on Zeitler. We'll have updates tomorrow and certainly Friday as well. Hopefully he'll be able to go. He was doing some work on the side today, but you never know with hamstrings and how these things end up going. But he's a really, really good football player. And, oh, by the way, a free agent at the end of the year as well. He had just signed that 1-year deal with the Lions to replace Jonah Jackson, and he's done great. He's done really well. And shout out to Jonah Jackson and the Rams. They're doing their thing, part of the Final Four in the NFC, of course, along with the Eagles, Lions, and Commanders. Could you imagine if somehow the Rams upset the Eagles on Sunday afternoon and Stafford and the Rams are coming back to town? Oh, God. I don't know what. Look, I think Philly's better than the Rams, and I think Philly would give the Lions more fits. I just don't know if I can handle a whole week of Stafford stories again and Sean McVay and Goff and all that again. I'm sick of that. Totally sick of it. All right, our call today is coming up next. A very intriguing and good question from one of our everyday listeners. We will do that next here on a Wednesday. Locked on Lions. And growing your small business in 2025 comes down to how well you can hire. And let's face it, better hires start with smarter insights. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. The strongest hiring data available, LinkedIn helps you identify the right candidates, giving you the confidence to make the best decisions for your business. I've used LinkedIn Jobs myself, and I can tell you it's a game changer when it comes to hiring the right fit. Small businesses are wearing a lot of hats, so every hire is crucial. LinkedIn gets that. That's why you can connect with the best candidates using data you won't find anywhere else, from unique skills and interests to the connections you share. LinkedIn helps you find the right person for the job. In fact, 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn has helped them find high quality candidates. Hire smarter this year. All right. Get on LinkedIn. Find your next great hire right there. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Doesn't cost you anything. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, folks, it is a time. Let's do one of these calls of the day. You can be our call of the day by going to our voicemail system at speakpipe.com/Derry, DERY podcast page. One of our everyday listeners by the name of Brandon Washington checks in today as our call of the day. Let's take a listen.
How's it going, Matt? This is Brandon from Detroit, Michigan, currently living in North Dakota. Long time listener for like the last 3 years. Doing a great job. Keep it up. My question is, you think it's possible any of the Lions could make the Madden 26 cover? And if so, who? And would you want any of them to even grace the cover, given the fact of the Madden curse with Christian McCaffrey and other such players who had the cover as well? Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Brandon Washington, for our call of the day. And look, I'm not a Madden guy. I'm not a gamer per se. I know the game is great and it's been around a long, long time. Heck, I remember playing it in college and all of that. Let me say this, though. When I was having a conversation today over at Parkway Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram with my very good friend, Joe Giaccona, and we were talking about Jahmyr Gibbs and how special Jahmyr Gibbs is. So to answer Brandon's question, who could be on the cover of Madden next year? It could be number 26 in the Honolulu blue and silver. He is that good. That good. Now, I don't know about any curses or jinxes. I know it's happened. Like he mentioned before, McCaffrey this year basically missed the entire season. But this is, Jahmyr Gibbs has become and is becoming a star in this league. It's not just with the Lions. What other running backs in the NFL would you have? Would you take? What running back would you rather have than Jahmyr Gibbs? Saquon Barkley had a great year. All right. 2,000-yard rusher. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. Derrick Henry, just the combination of size and speed, throwing people away as he runs over them. That dude is special. All right. In the Lions' own division, Josh Jacobs is excellent. Excellent player. Nick Chubb, with all the injuries, hasn't been great coming back, but 2 years ago, you would have said that's the best back in football. There's a lot of really, really good backs. I'm not sure I would trade any of them for Jahmyr Gibbs. And this kind of begs the question for this weekend. If David Montgomery is healthy, how many carries is he going to get? Yes, Sonic and Knuckles, Thunder and Lightning, the big back, the smaller back, the power back, the outside back. If the Lions start the game Saturday night and Jahmyr Gibbs is on the bench, I'm going to have a problem with it. He is in a zone right now. He dominated the Vikings in week 18. Jahmyr Gibbs, when he got all the carries in week 17 in Chicago. Is that week 17? Or week 16 against Chicago. Week 17 against San Francisco. That dude has got to be on the field. And I love David Montgomery. I'm a huge Montgomery fan. Demo, Knuckles, the whole thing. He's awesome. And I do want him playing. But right now, Jahmyr Gibbs offers a kind of a threat. And the way that he scares defenses with what he can do, both in the passing game and in the running game, has to be on the field. you could sit here and talk about Brandon. Well, Madden cover next year, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yes, absolutely. He could be on there. He's good. I don't know if Jared Goff is sexy enough from a football standpoint to be putting on the cover. All right. He's excellent. I would have said Aiden Hutchinson if he would have been healthy, although I don't know how many defensive players have ever been on the cover of Madden. But to me, Jahmyr Gibbs is just special. And you wonder, with Montgomery coming back from that MCL injury, what the usage is going to look like coming up Saturday night. There's plenty of carries to go around. The Lions like to run the football. Commanders come in, the third worst rushing defense in the entire league. So the Lions are going to run the ball. But man, let's say the Lions win the toss and get the ball to start Saturday night. I want Gibbs on the field. He's on one right now. He is on fire. And I want him out there. Yeah, David Montgomery, short yardage, David Montgomery to spell Gibbs, yes. But this offense has kind of taken another turn and has moved up another notch because Jahmyr Gibbs he's really been the exclusive number one back since Montgomery got hurt weeks ago. Craig Reynolds has gotten some opportunities. Come on, Craig. Jamar Jefferson, yes. All right. Sione Vaki, absolutely. But Gibbs is pretty sweet, man. That is some kind of talent that is killing it right now for the Lions, for sure. All right, that'll do it for our Wednesday edition right here on Locked On Lions. We are back again tomorrow and Friday. Don't forget Saturday night following the game, the Locked On Lions postcast with Jake Riepma on Locked On Sports Detroit. I will have my show as well, likely following Jake's, be a normal show Saturday night following the game with the Lions and the Commanders. Tomorrow, David Harrison joins us from Locked On Commanders for the Thursday crossover. Great night, everybody.